All guests have been muted. You can unmute your line by pressing *6. This meeting is now being recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to join us for the preseason men's and women's basketball coaches conference calls as the coaches offer their preview ahead of the season. The 51st season of men's basketball gets underway next Friday. That's November the 8th. But before we get started, I want to go over a few guidelines for the call. I'm Todd Lamb, Assistant Commissioner for Communications at the Southland Conference. I'll be the moderator for the call. We'll also be joined by Calhoun Hipp, the Director of Communications for the Southland Conference. He is the primary contact for women's basketball. I am the primary contact for men's basketball. Please direct any inquiries to us throughout the season. We do restrict the call to official news-gathering media members only. The general public, including fans and fan websites, are prohibited from participating during the live call. We ask that you do not place the call on hold or use the speakerphone function at any time while on the call. We have muted all phone lines at the start of the call. Prior to speaking or asking a question, we just ask that you press *6. I will unmute your line. It's the same command to mute your line again after you've asked a question. Media, we do ask that prior to asking a question, you identify yourself by name and media organization. Also, we would ask that you be mindful of other media members that are participating on the call. You certainly may ask multiple questions, but please allow others the opportunity to ask a question. Just to give everybody the opportunity, we want to make sure that after you ask a question, see if anyone else has a question before a follow-up. Any violation of these guidelines may lead to immediate disconnection from the call. We have posted the men's and women's basketball media guides online at southland.org. They're available there now, and please feel free to use those. We have mailed those as well. Hopefully, they're finding your mailboxes now. If you did not get one by mail and you would like one, please reach out to myself or to Calhoun Hipp, and we'll make sure to get one in the mail to you. The format for today's call, today we're speaking with coaches at our 7 institutions in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma, starting with the Oral Roberts at 9:40, followed by Central Arkansas, Northwestern State, McNeese, Southeastern Louisiana, Nicholls, and New Orleans. Tomorrow, we will have the 7 coaches at our Texas schools, including Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston State, Houston Baptist, Lamar, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Incarnate Word, and Abilene Christian. Tomorrow's call will also begin at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. We are streaming both of these calls live on the Southland Conference Digital Network, which includes our website at southland.org, as well as our mobile and tablet apps for iPhone and Android. So we will have an archive available there at some point in the next couple of days for you to go back and listen, or if you missed any parts of the call, to go back and catch up on those. Last Wednesday, the 23rd, we released the preseason all-conference teams, so hopefully you have seen those. They've also been posted to our website and are in the media guide as well. I will tell you that on the men's side, we had 2 returning all-conference selections that were automatic selections to the preseason team. The remaining 8 individuals were selected by the league's head coaches. And then on the women's side, there were 5 returning all-conference selections from a year ago, and they had a tie, 3-way tie for 9th place. So we have an 11-member team instead of 10 on the women's all-conference, preseason all-conference teams. But go ahead and check those out if you have not done so already. This morning at about 9 o'clock, we released the preseason polls. The men's side, Northwestern State, is the favorite in both the coaches poll and the SID poll, followed by, in the coaches poll, followed by Oral Roberts, Sam Houston State in third, Stephen F. Austin in fourth, McNeese State fifth, Southeastern Louisiana sixth, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi seventh, Nicholls eighth, Central Arkansas ninth, Lamar 10th, New Orleans 11th, Houston Baptist 12th. We only ranked 12 preseason teams this year. Abilene Christian and Incarnate Word are only playing a partial schedule, and so they are not eligible for the preseason polls. They're also not eligible for postseason play until the 2017-18 season. In the Sports Information Directors poll, on the men's side, Northwestern State was 1, followed by Oral Roberts, number 2. We had a two-way tie for third with Sam Houston State and Stephen F. Austin. Southeastern Louisiana was 5th, McNeese State 6th, Texas A&M Corpus Christi 7th, Nicholls 8th, Lamar 9th, Central Arkansas 10th, New Orleans 11th, and Houston Baptist 12th. On the women's side, Stephen F. Austin is the favorite in both the coaches poll and the Sports Information Directors poll. We'll go over the coaches poll first. Following the Lumberjacks at the top spot is Oral Roberts at number 2, Nicholls at number 3, McNeese State number 4, Sam Houston State number 5, Central Arkansas number 6, Lamar 7, Northwestern State 8th, Texas A&M Corpus Christi 9th, Southeastern Louisiana 10th, New Orleans 11th, and Houston Baptist 12th. In the SID poll, again, SFA was number 1, followed by Oral Roberts, number 2, Nicholls, number 3, McNeese State, number 4. There was a two-way tie for 5th between Sam Houston State and Lamar. Central Arkansas was number 7, Northwestern State, number 8, Southeastern Louisiana, number 9, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, 10th, New Orleans, 11th, and Houston Baptist, 12th. Again, these polls were emailed out this morning. They're also available at southland.org in case you missed those. The media guides are available online for you to use. They're available as a PDF by section or in the entire guide, and we've also posted those to issue.com. That's ISSUU.com, with a link that's available at southland.org. Tomorrow morning, prior to the coaches conference call at 9:30, we will announce the comprehensive men's and women's television schedule as we have it. So you want to make sure you're looking for that release in the coming in the morning before the call tomorrow. We're just a couple minutes ahead of schedule here. We'll go ahead and wait just 1 second before we are joined by the Oral Roberts coaches. Coach Sutton, are you with us?
I am.
All right, joined now by Scott Sutton, the men's basketball head coach at Oral Roberts University. Last year, the Golden Eagles were 20-15 overall, 13-5 in the conference, which was third place in their first campaign in the Southland. Coach, if you would, maybe talk a little bit, provide an opening statement, tell us how your camp is going, and then, as you're getting prepared, your opener, I guess, is against Tulsa next Sunday, or a week from Sunday.
Well, good morning, and Thanks for having me on. And yeah, it's practices have gone well. This is a good year for the the rules committee to allow us to, or the NCAA allow us to start practice a couple of weeks early with a lot of new faces. I think we have 8 or 9 new guys that have not played a Division I basketball game for us. So it's been good. I like this team. I don't think we're quite as young as maybe some people, if they take a look at us on paper. I say that because we have several guys that have redshirted, a little bit older than maybe what their class says, and also a couple of Division I transfers that will come in and be impact players. Obi Megano, who we're very familiar with, playing at Western Illinois back when we were in the Summit League, and he had an outstanding freshman campaign for Western, averaged about 14 points a game. He'll be eligible this year. And then we got good news early this fall when Drew Wilson was granted immediate eligibility by the NCAA, big 6'7" athlete, transfer from Missouri State. So, those two guys have played Division I basketball before. They played in good leagues. They played at a high level. So I like this team. Obviously, it's a work in progress. We're going to probably, it's going to take a while for this team to gel because of so many new guys. It's going to take a while for this team for first coaches to settle on a rotation. I think this is the deepest team we've had in quite some time. I don't think there's one guy on this roster that you can look at and say he's probably not quite ready to help you play. So early this season, we'll be tinkering with our rotation. I'm sure we'll have some different starting lineups, but I do like the potential of this basketball team.
All right, we'll go ahead and open up questions now for Scott Sutton, the men's basketball head coach at Oral Roberts. Media, you may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line. We would also ask that you identify yourself and by name and media organization prior to asking a question.
Hey, Scott, this is Len Rollins with the Southland Television Network. Thank you for doing this, by the way.
You bet, Len. Thank you.
A quick question, and I'm sure it's not the first time it's been asked, but I'm curious. I'm down in Louisiana. What's your reaction to the league after 1 year and a nice finish last year, and obviously you guys are well regarded this year? Tell me about as you sat down after in postseason last year and said, okay, what's this league all about, and how does it compare with some other things, and what do you guys have to do?
Well, I was impressed. The two things I was probably most impressed with were I thought the coaching was really good. I had followed the Southland quite a bit because a good friend and a former teammate of mine, Brooks Thompson, was at UTSA, and obviously they were in this conference before last year. So I talked to him quite a bit, and I followed Danny's career, Mike's career at Northwestern State, because we'd played both of them early in my tenure at Oral Roberts, and I knew what type of coaches they were. But I was overall really impressed with the coaching. And then the other thing that probably stood out was just the athleticism. Coming from the Summit, and I compare it this way, I think the Summit is a lot like the Big Ten, where you have bigger players, you have skilled players, and I really believe that the Southlands is more. The Southland's more like the SEC, where every night you're going to face tremendous athletes. And in the Summit, we were always probably considered the most athletic team, and I think last year we were probably just another team because there's great athletes, coming from South Texas, Louisiana, and so I would say those are the two things that probably stood out to me the most.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott, other questions? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Todd. Hey, Scott, this is Jimmy Trammell here in Tulsa. What's your reaction to being picked second in the preseason poll?
Well, it's this league lost a lot of good players. Obviously, Stephen F. Austin lost 3 outstanding players off a great team, and Northwestern lost some, but obviously with the style they play and how many guys they play, they still have a lot of guys back, some really good players back, and they're certainly the favorite. So I don't know. I think you could have picked 3 or 4 teams that could have fallen in the second place, but I think a lot of it has to do with Sean Glover. I think Sean had outstanding junior season for us. Averaged close to 16 points a game and 6 rebounds in the conference season, and he was playing behind, two outstanding players and scorers in Damon and Moore Niles. So I think you'll see Sean's production go up, and so we're a long ways away. Some of it probably has to do with the history of our program, where we've never had too big of a drop off. Going back probably 10 or 12 years, and then of course, like I mentioned, Sean Glover, and I think Sean, there's a reason he's on the first team, and he'll be one of the better players in this league.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott, Lynn Rollins again. Just a quick observation. I participated in a rules seminar with some officials the other day, and certainly it was made clear to me that hand checking and will no longer be allowed, and I think that's a point of emphasis nationwide, and also clarification on drawing charges and making it perhaps more difficult to do so. Tell me, what's your impression of that, and has it altered the way you guys teach defense?
It's certainly altered the way we've taught, and I think it's going to affect teams that are really aggressive defensively, that like to pressure. We've really been we've tried to get across our guys in practice. So when they put a hand on somebody, that's going to be a foul. Curtis Shaw came by, the supervisor officials for the Southland and the Big 12 and a few others, but he did a good job explaining to the coaches what they expect and how it's going to be called. And so I think you're going to see teams that they're going to back off a little bit, not put as much pressure on, especially when somebody has the ball, and you'll probably see more zone, especially early in the season. I think our guys have done a decent job. We've had 2 scrimmages, inter-squad scrimmages, when we brought in Division I officials. And as a group, I think we've done a pretty good job. We've got a couple individuals that still, it's going to be a tough lesson to learn, because starting Saturday night when, the exhibition season starts, if they don't learn pretty quickly, they're going to be over there on the bench by me. But, I think it's a good rule. That I think they want, they want to increase scoring. They want to give more freedom of movement for the offense. The charge call, I think it's still going to be an awfully difficult call for the officials to make. I think you're going to see when guys try to take charges, if there's any doubt about it, it's going to be a block, and that's what Curtis has said. And we've tried to tell our guys, if you know 100%, if you're not 100% that you're there for a long time, you have to go straight up vertically and try to challenge a shot or block a shot, and because it's going to be a blocking foul.
Other questions for Scott Sutton this morning? Coach, last year you talked about conference being, having the feel of a bunch of non-conference games that, since you weren't familiar with teams and arenas and cities. How do you feel your team might be better prepared for Southland Conference play this year?
Well, the teams that were there last year, I think we'll feel a lot better. We'll be a lot more comfortable. We'll understand the different styles. We'll understand the arenas and atmospheres. But you're adding 4 new league and 4 new teams, and so everybody's going to have to adjust a little bit to that. But yeah, I think the second time around, our guys and our staff, certainly our coaches, will have a better understanding of what we're facing.
Scott, tell me right now, and I realize things evolve during the season, but right now, what are your strengths that you feel like are going to come to the forefront immediately, and some things that you would like to see develop with your squad as the season unfolds?
I think depth is certainly one of our strengths. Like I said earlier, this is the deepest team we've had in quite some time, and that really helps you. This year probably more than ever with the way they're going to call fouls early in the season, or until teams adjust. You're going to have some guys in foul trouble where there won't be that big of a drop off when you go to your bench, and then The other way it really helps you, because we're not going to play 10, 11, 12 guys, like a team like Northwestern State does. We're always going to settle on a 8, 9, 10-man rotation. But where it helps you is in practice. The past several years, we've really struggled with injuries. And when you get to January and February and you're down to 8, 9 scholarship players, and you're having to play, 3 or 4 walk-ons. It's hard to get better. It's hard to have long, tough practices when you don't have, that many guys. You have to worry about saving them per game. So I think those two areas will certainly help us. I think I like our athleticism. I think our front court players are probably a little bit more athletic than we've had in the past couple of years. And then I like our guards. 2 freshman guards that played last year had to play a ton of minutes for us. DJ Jackson and Corey Baleberry are a ton better because of that experience. And then you throw in a Sean Glover and then Obi Megano, who like I mentioned earlier, had a great freshman year in Western Illinois. So I like our backcourt and athleticism and depth. As far as working on things, I think we are young in some areas, and some guys that haven't got the experience playing at this level, that they're going to have to grow up pretty quickly. I think this team, because of our athleticism and our depth, we can be a pretty good defensive team. But obviously that's a work in progress. And then probably maybe the biggest weakness or unknown going into the season, I wouldn't say weakness, but unknown is, our program, we've always had a really good low post scorer. Going back, 10, 12 years ago, and Caleb Green was a tremendous scorer. 6 or 7 years ago, Dan Bellholter, the last 3 or 4 years has been a really good scorer. And this year, we don't have that one guy that's probably ready to go, average 15 or 16 points. We have 3 or 4 that I think are capable of, and they're continuing to get better and better, but they're not there yet.
Anything else for Coach Sutton today? All right, Coach, appreciate your time today and wish you the best of luck this season.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Misti, are you with us?
I am.
All right, joined now by Misti Cussen, the women's basketball head coach at Oral Roberts. Last year, your team finished 18-13 overall, 13-5, first place tie in the Southland Conference. But maybe talk a little bit about how things are going for you as you prepare for your season opener November the 8th against the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma.
Well, we're back to teaching kindergarten this year. We've got 10 new faces on the roster this year, and we graduated probably the most decorated class in the history of our women's program here, at least during my 17 years here at ORU, with a fantastic senior class last year. And we've got 4 returning players, and only 3 of those were letter winners this last year. Redshirt season. And so we've got a lot of new faces going into this season, and I could echo a lot of Scott's sentiments as far as some of the things he shared about strengths for their program right now, that we feel like our athleticism will increase and our depth will increase this year, but we will be very young in a couple of positions coming out of the gates, and I think a lot of our conference success this year in January and February will be based upon the lessons that we learn in the non-conference schedule. So I like the spirit of this team. They've got a great hunger to learn, a great chemistry about them. And I think one of the things is that because of our depth increase, we can do a lot more things in practice right now, but it's just going to be a matter of getting some experience. And we chose to do 2 actually close scrimmages this preseason as opposed to exhibition games, just to learn some lessons, and just to get some experience on the court before we start and open up on November 8th. But we're real excited about the group that we've got. Just know that we're gonna have some freshman moments, some newcomer moments, early in the semester. But looking forward to what it grows into.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for Misti Cussen at ORU. Media, you may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line, and we do ask that you identify yourself by name and media organization.
Hey, Coach, this is Len Rollins with the Southland Television Network. I'm in Louisiana, and I say this kind of jokingly, but it seems to me with your roster this year, the first month, the biggest problem might be with diaper rash.
That's true, Lynn. I mean, we have those moments that I have an emotional roller coaster when I go home at the end of every day today. When I walk in, my two little girls and my husband, they kind of know if we had a lot of freshman moments that day at practice or if we actually started to put some things together. So it's a lot of teaching, which I love. That part of coaching, I enjoy that part of investment that you put into new players. But you think some days that you're definitely leaving it all in the practice gym, when you get ready to go home. But there's some very rewarding things that happen in that process also. And we've had a lot of good light bulb moments that have happened over the past 3 weeks of practice. As we begin to put it all together, but that will just be a part of that journey this year. We'll talk a lot with our players this season that, it's really broken down into 3 parts. You've got your non-conference where we're going to learn a lot of lessons and hopefully deal with that diaper rash a little bit. And then we've got the regular season with the Southland and then the postseason down in Katy again. But we'll keep breaking it down because one of the things I think, too, that happens with freshmen is they just don't, until they experience that first year, they don't realize how long the college season is compared to what they've known coming in. So we'll work real hard just to educate them about the big picture as we go through as well. But I think it's a point well taken, Lynn.
Well, I just want to follow up quickly, and I won't take up any more time, but I followed the Southland a long time, and it's been my observation, Coach, that talented freshmen in this league, it seems every year, many of them, have an immediate impact, and it's really a refreshing thing to see 18 and 19-year-olds come on and play so well sometimes.
Well, and I think that grows into some of the more mature players that you see that have outstanding careers in the Southland as well. Brooke down at McNeese just graduated 2 of the favorite players I've ever watched, and Ashlyn and Caitlin Baggett. And then it's fun to see how Stephen F. Austin's been rewarded with their preseason number 1 because Brandon's literally been going through over the past 2 or 3 years what we're going to be going through this year as far as growing a very young team into a preseason number 1 ranking, and it's very deserved as well. And so I just think that gives our fans in the Southland an opportunity to really attach to these players that come up and make an impact early and continue to follow them, and hopefully it really builds our fan base in all of our cities and programs throughout the Southland Conference as we grow women's basketball in this conference.
Hey, Misti, this is Jimmy Trammell here in Tulsa. How are you?
I'm good, Jimmy. How are you?
Good. Hey, were you taken aback a little bit to have only 3 returning lettermen and be picked second in the league?
No, not at all. I think we are in a very deserved space because I think that I think Brandon's SFA program is in a very deserved space as well. And with our 3 returning letter winners, there's also 3 very absent letter winners, in our senior class that we graduated as well. And so I think that it was I hope we can live up to that number 2, as we enter the Southland in January. But I think we're in a very respectful position, and I don't think we would have been deserving of the number 1, to be real honest, especially seeing what I see every day in the practice gym right now. I know we're not. So I'd love to get to the point that we can challenge for that later on, but I thought it was a very educated coaches poll this year. I think our coaches in the Southland have great respect for one another. We understand the hard work that we're all putting into our respective programs, and I thought it was very deserved.
How healthy is Jenny Bryan? I mean, I know she fought through a lot and she had a little situation this year, but is she able to come and help you with the transfer from Oklahoma State?
She is. She really is. And for our, for people that aren't aware, Jenny was never hurt, throughout her entire career. And during her redshirt season this last year, she actually, went through a shoulder reconstruction and an ACL, so just kind of a bad run of luck there for a while as far as what she's endured. But one of the things that makes Jenny such an impact player for us is her basketball IQ. And so even when Jenny's at 80 or 85%, and we're building her back towards that 100%, she understands competition at the highest level, and she understands tough play, having played in the Big 12 for 2 years and contributed for Oklahoma State. So there's a lot of intangibles that she brings to us on a daily basis that I always tell her, that Jenny's 80% is still worth a lot in our system. But I believe she'll continue to come on, and I think that by the time we get into conference play, she will be at the peak of her game again.
Thank you, Misti.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else today for Misti Cussen at ORU?
Coach, this is Grant Boone from Abilene Christian University. Hi.
Hey, Grant.
You were a longtime assistant. Why did you do so well transitioning to head coach? Not everyone does that so well. What would you attribute it to?
Well, I think especially having been in a position here at ORU for that many years also, it was probably a relational basis with the players that, I didn't make a transition from longtime assistant to head coach changing universities. These are players that I recruited when they were in high school, and I saw them through their first 2 or 3 seasons already and was in the trenches with them. And so I think there was a great trust relationship there with this last season's team, and I think that was a part of it, is that they knew me, and they knew the way in which I work and my communication styles. And I think we went into it this last season also trying not to change too much of what we'd done, just so that we didn't take away the knowledge base of our upperclassmen. I really relied a lot on our senior class this past season, and I'll miss that this year. But as a result, we tried not to change too much, there was enough change, with just the coaching position change, and we wanted to really save their knowledge as much as possible. And when you couple that with a new conference and new cities and a new head coach, we tried to calm the waters as much as possible. But that's about as good as I can get for you, Grant.
I appreciate it. All the best.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Misti, appreciate your time today. Certainly wish your team the best of luck this season.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Coach Finley, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
All right, joined now by Clarence Finley, the first-year head coach at Central Arkansas. The Bears were 13-17 overall last season, 7-11 in the conference, finished 8th in the league. Coach, obviously, you're taking over the reins here for Coach Williamson after 3 years as an associate head coach in that program. How's the transition going for you?
Transition is going very well, mainly because we was able to keep the majority of the kids that was coming back. We lost 2 that didn't return, and I probably could have got the position a little bit during the spring versus the summer. Probably could have got those 2 to stay with us also. So we do have some kids returning. So the transition has been going very well.
Maybe before we open it up for questions, just talk a little bit about how practice has been going for you as you prepare for your November 12th opener against Hendricks.
Practice has been going pretty good. It's just trying to get the young kids. We have some real talented freshmen, trying to get them to go game speed, because they were used to going at the high school speed level. So getting from one drill to the next was kind of tough for some of the freshmen at the beginning of the practice. But we did have some of that with the individual training where we speeded up the tempo.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for Clarence Finley, the interim men's basketball head coach at Central Arkansas. Media, you may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line, and we do ask that you identify yourself by name and media organization.
Coach, this is Dave McCollum from Law Captain Democrat, and you've got some new players this year. LaQuentin Miles is going to be out for maybe a third of the season or the semester. Where's your leadership going to come from, and some of the young players we need to look for?
The leadership will probably come from definitely Deshaun McClure, which would be a senior, and Deshaun has plays the wing spot for us. He could also be a combo guard, so he could play the 1, 2, or the 3, and he's been showing some leadership both on and off the floor. And he's going to have to score a little bit more for us this year, because when we lost Jarvis Garner and when we lost Crawford, we lost about 50 points there, and along with the other people that we lost about 60.9 points. So it's going to be a different type of game that we'll be playing, because we won't be able to score as well as we scored last year, so we've got to defend a little bit better. But Deshaun is a solid defensive player when he's focused, and we try to get him focused on the defensive side of the ball.
Other questions for Coach Finley? Coach, maybe talk a little bit about, the changes that the Bears might be experiencing right now, either style of play, personnel, those sorts of things.
Yes, I will. Okay. Our style of play will be a little bit different. We will try to push the ball in transition, but I thought last year we had a lot of problems with shot selection. So we're going to have better shot selection. We're going to move the ball a little bit more this year. We won't be able to shoot as quick as possible as we did last year. Some coaches said it was an unexpected shot. We're going to try to move the ball around and try to get a better shot selection. And we're going to scramble the defense with our ball movement. So we're going to share the basketball a little bit more because when we shot it quick, our transition defense wasn't very well. And that's the problem we're having right now, trying to clean up our transition defense. And most teams are like that. As you watched the NBA last night, you know that transition defense was hard for both, for all four teams that have watched the game. And that's what a game can be won or lost in transition. And we're going to try to cut down the mistakes in transition defense.
Coach, this is Len Rollins with the Southland Television Network. I'm intrigued by, what you say about the defensive side. How difficult is it at any level, and whether they're freshmen or seniors, to get players to really give that extra on the defensive side, and how important is it to your overall success, especially this year?
It's going to be very important, and I'm defensive minded, and what we're doing, we try to do some of our pre-practice and individual practice with our concentration being more on defense this year than more on offense. Now, we will continue to work on offense, and the key thing that we're trying to tell them is we will work on offense, but our point of emphasis is team defense. Mm-hmm. So we're really working on transition defense, help side defense, and a lot of kids cannot defend the dribbler. So we are really trying to contain the dribbler. So we're doing a lot of work there, and hopefully we can improve on it. And each day by day, we're putting emphasis on defense, but we're constantly working on offense.
Well,
definitely going to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah, well, no doubt you've been impressed then by Stephen F. Austin under Coach Casper the past several years. I mean, do you sort of see your team trying to adopt that sort of effectiveness?
We try to adopt that effectiveness, but as a high school coach, and I've been a high school college coach before at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, we hang our hand on defense there. Mm-hmm. So that's always been one of my pet peeves, is to concentrate on defense. And so it's nothing new to me. But we do remind our kids that Stephen F. Austin did focus on making you earn each and every basket. And to be able to do that, first of all, you got to get back, and stop the ball. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're working on.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions today for Clarence Finley at Central Arkansas? Coach, you briefly touched on this in your opening comments, but you lost a good portion of your scoring from last season with the loss of Jarvis Garner and Robert Crawford. Who do you expect to pick up the slack on the offensive end of the floor?
Yes, as we mentioned before, it'll probably be Deshaun McClure. And we also have a real talented freshman, about 6'5", 6'6", named Jalen Jackson from West Memphis. He set out last year to get eligible, and he's eligible this year. And he can play the 3 and the 4. We basically concentrating on as a wing player, and he should bring some additional scoring. Ryan Williams been under the weather a little bit this fall, but if we get him back, and he should be able to help us with some scoring this year. And we also have an addition of a 6'8", 230 Terry Tipwell, who played 3 years for us and decided not to play last year, but after I got the position, interim head coach here, Terry Tipwell decided he wanted to try to play his senior year. So Terry should give us some additional scoring inside. And he also should be able to match up with some of the 6'7", 6'8" inside players that have a little muscle inside. So we're bringing him in for defensive purposes and also some inside scoring from Terry Tipwell, the senior, who is 6'8", about 230 right now. We're taking a little of that weight off of him. He came in about 250, but we're down about 235. So we're constantly trying to get the conditioning in because we got to have him getting back also in transition defense.
Coach, again, just curious, and if you could briefly update me on your situation as interim, what do you understand about the process of either you continuing as head coach or a change being made through? How is that working at your school?
This is working fine. The players know the situation. I know the situation, and I have a young staff that really knows the situation. And we're planning on being here forever. We're planning on getting the interim taken off, and this is why we rolled up our sleeves and we really want to work on. And we're steady recruiting, and it's a situation where we're bringing kids in for business, and we're approaching it like I'm gonna be here, for 4 or 5 or 8 more years.
So the administration is giving you every opportunity to be in that search and that.
Yes, the bottom line is we're doing the proper things on and off the court right now. But the bottom line with our athletic director, Dr. T, got to win some ball games. It's just simple as that.
Right.
We're going to win some ball games. But the kids are doing a great job academically. We improved that. And we're also doing community service. But the bottom line is we're going to have to get some wins.
Right. Well, good luck, and thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else for Clarence Finley at Central Arkansas? Coach, definitely appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck this season.
Thank you. Y'all have a great morning.
All right. Sandra, are you with us? You may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, joined now by Sandra Rushing, the women's basketball head coach at Central Arkansas. Last year, the Sugar Bears were 15-15 overall, 8-10 in the conference, which was good for 6th place. Coach, talk, if you would, a little bit about how practice has been going for you as you're getting ready for your opener a week from Friday with Alcorn State.
Well, it's hard to believe it's already here. We need a couple more weeks, actually. It's been fun. It's been interesting. Got a lot of new players. I've got 4 returning from last year. We signed 8, and 5 of them are freshmen. They're having to learn the pace of the game and the demands, on the body, physically, mentally. But losing 46 points from last year is very difficult to replace. But I love this team's attitude, their work ethic. We realize that we're rebuilding, losing so many seniors last year. But I think our preseason schedule is pretty challenging. It's going to help us, and we're going to have to grow up quick. We do have Michael Rice back, and she's done a great job of leadership. You can tell the difference as a 5th-year senior compared to the freshman. And, of course, Courtney Duver is doing an outstanding job. Work extremely hard in the summer, getting stronger and quicker. And I'm really, really excited about this season.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for Sandra Rushing, the women's basketball head coach at Central Arkansas.
Sandra, hi. This is Len Rollins with the Southland Television Network. You spoke about Courtney, and we saw her, or I had the chance to see her and work some games last year. To me, I want you to explain her game a little bit more. I thought she was one of the most promising and most physically gifted players in the league who just had great potential, and this might be her year to become one of the very best in the league. What's your impression of how good she can be?
Oh, I agree with you. I saw it last year also, and she's just got a great attitude, great work ethic. Like I said, she stayed here June and July and really worked on her ball handling. She's a big player that can put it on the floor, can create. She can shoot the 3. She can go down to the block. She's just a tremendous player, and I think she is, one of the best in the league. And there's a lot of great players in this league. But I'm really excited. I wish I had her a couple more years. I wish I'd have had her 4 years. But her leadership has been wonderful. She's figured out what I want and the demands, and she's helping with the young players, and that's exciting.
How does your philosophy offensively, and defensively, change if it does in the absence of the great players that aren't coming back?
Well, because of the rule change and everything now, I like aggressive defense and let's get after it. And the way they're going to call it this year, from what I understand, it's it's been okay for me because I've got so many new players. So I'm able, and they're not used to the demands defensively. You know, we do stress defense, a lot of help side. Of course, we want pressure on the ball, but, you know, early on, I mean, we've had a couple of scrimmages, and, you know, we've gotten in foul trouble, you know, and, you know, that's something that we're having to work on, but we're going to continue to stress defense. I really believe this year, you know, we spent more time, honestly, offensively this year than I probably have in years. Just because there's so many new players, and you've got to have that chemistry. And we talk about, you know, shot selection, and everybody comes in and they're used to being the star, and they're used to shooting it when they get it. Of course, I'm the inside out. I want to go in, look inside first, and you know, have good shot selection, so we'll know when the shot goes up that we've got to go rebound. It's just, you know, offensively, I don't know where we're going to get 46 points to make up for it, but we're working on it.
So the inside-out philosophy will not change, even though your roster has changed a great deal down low.
Not when you have a post player like Courtney Duver. Absolutely not. You know, it would be different if we didn't. And, you know, we signed a couple JUCO players that really honestly feel better facing the basket than they do with their back to the basket. And that's something that we've had to make some adjustments because, you know, I think that person on the offside of Courtney is really going to be huge for us this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, this is Callahan from Southland Conference. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. On paper, it says that, you know, you have one returning starter, but as you mentioned, you got Micah Rice coming back this season. What type of impact are you looking for her to make for y'all?
Well, I felt like, you know, last year, Micah, I always said was the glue that kept things solid for us when things got out of sync. And, you know, she just has that leadership and experience. She's a very, very heady player, knows what's going on. IQ, basketball IQ is very high. She's also, you know, helping bring the young players along, especially if she's in the ballgame being a senior and that fifth-year senior and a freshman's in there. She's going to help them. Also, she's going to get on to them and correct them, but her leadership is so valuable, especially for this year for us.
Coach, this is Dave McCollum from Log Cabin Democrat, and who are some of the young players that may make an immediate impact this year?
Hey, that's a good question. You know, everybody's going to be thrown into the fire. You know, I've got Brianna Mullins, who I think has done an outstanding job for us. She's from Arkansas, and I thought, you know, we brought in Peyton Harrell from Jessieville, Arkansas, and she's, you know, 6'2". She came in at 130. And we got her. She's up to 150. We've got to get some muscle on her. I think she'll see a little time. She's just got to get physical and a little bit tougher mentally, and that's one of the biggest things that that's a challenge for us right now with a lot of freshmen. The mental toughness and understanding the demands and traveling and staying with your school, and you know, we're going to talk to them all year long, and we have about the demands the schedule will create for us. But also, I think Maggie Prophet, she's from Columbus, Mississippi, and I've watched her for a long time, and she's absolutely a tremendous shooter, and it's going to hopefully open up something for us if people are having to double team Courtney or she's on the off side. You know, she's not really quick, but she's very, very smart, and she does the right thing.
Coach, hi, it's Grant Boone with Abilene Christian. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Thinking about your experiences in a variety of places, can you share just your impressions of the Southland after last year? And I'm asking a little bit selfishly, thinking about the teams like Abilene Christian and Incarnate Word who are transitioning from Division II to Division I.
Well, I think there's a lot of athleticism in the Southland, especially there's some really great players I had the opportunity actually to coach and watch last year. The coaching is amazing, and you know, the coaches in the Southland really challenge you to become a better coach. And I've watched them. I respect every coach, and I'm trying to learn from them. But the athleticism, the tempo of it in the Southland has really, really impressed me.
Anything else for Sandra rushing at Central Arkansas? All right. Coach, appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck this season.
Hey, thank you.
You bet. Coach Mike, are you with us?
Yes.
All right. Joined now by Mike McConathy, the head coach at Northwestern State. You're one of only 22 head coaches in the country that have been at the same school for 15 years or more. This is a group that includes coaches like Mike Krzyzewski of Duke, Billy Donovan of Florida, Rick Barnes at Texas, Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and, of course, Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. Talk about that exclusive group of coaches that you're in the mix with.
Well, it's good to know I am in an exclusive group. I don't know that I could be compared to any of those guys, but it is great to have been here at Northwestern State under Greg Burke's leadership for these going on my 15th year, and excited about the continued opportunities that Demon basketball has in front of it. But it is a real honor to have been here and to be able to be, put in that type of group.
Coach, just quickly, the Demons were 23-9 last year overall, 15-3, second place finish in the conference tournament champion, and just announced this morning the preseason favorite by both coaches and sports information directors in the polls.
Well, that's it's a great place to be, but a bad place to be. Because you're going to get everybody's best shot. We've been in this position before where we've been favored, and sometimes we've responded well, sometimes we haven't. One of the greatest concerns that I have for it is that our players understand that you can't be complacent. You have to go and compete as hard as you possibly can each night. And sometimes individuals, I won't say my players, but individuals, when people talk good about them, they feel pretty good about themselves, and that's something that we've really got to work real hard to not be full of ourselves, but understand we've got to continue to work and improve over last year's season.
All right. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for Mike McConathy, the head men's coach at Northwestern State. Media, you may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line, and we do ask that you identify yourself by both name and media organization prior to asking a question.
Hey, Mike.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike. Lynn Rollins with the Southland Network. First, good to hear from you. I want. Is there a way to compare the roster you're working with this year with the roster you're working with last year, and the athleticism and the options that you were able to bring to a variety of games and a variety of circumstances?
I think the greatest comparison is I really think that we shoot the ball better than we did last year, and I think that we're more athletic. But the one factor that continues to concern me is that with O.J. Evans and James Holden, we had some length that we haven't had in the past, and that's really what concerns me. Even though the guys that we have right now may play bigger than they actually are, if you want to call it, we won't look as good walking through airports. But I think that we really are going to shoot the ball much better. Tyler Washington's a kid that's coming off of a knee surgery. They didn't play last year, and he's really shooting the ball extremely well. And some of the new players that we have, Zeke Woodley really shoots the ball extremely well. James Holden was a great shooter for us, but I think that we have more pieces to play with, and I think our athleticism could be better than it was, but I am concerned about the length factor.
Coach Matt Vines from the Shreveport Times. You had Jalen West at point guard as a redshirt freshman. Now he's a sophomore. What type of improvement have you seen from year one to year two?
Well, I think that Jalen did a tremendous job last year of leading our team and understanding what he needed to do. And sometimes he actually held back because I like to phrase it as he was keeping the peace. He was keeping the seniors, letting them be the guys they were supposed to be, and we're just really expecting him to step up in a big way. I've noticed that he seems to be stronger and quicker than he was a year ago. He's just one of the most clutch players that I think I've ever been around. The one thing that stands out is Jalen wants to win everything he does, whether it's a foot race or a free throw contest or whatever it is, he wants to win. And I think that can have a huge impact on the rest of members of our team because of his competitiveness.
Mike, what is it about Northwestern State almost consistently under your leadership that makes this team such a good postseason team, regardless of where it may have finished during the regular season?
I think the factor actually that we play so many people lends itself to being stronger at the end of the year, and I also think it lends itself to develop a team that doesn't think about if somebody gets hurt or somebody gets in foul trouble. We all just have to step up and do the job. If you look at a year ago, Daquan Hicks goes down with a broken ankle, misses 18 games, and we win 2 out of 3 and pretty close on the third one to getting a victory in that game. The ball just didn't stay down in the goal to win that one. So I just think that's kind of maybe an attitude or culture that's been developed over 14 years that, hey, when you get on the floor, you got to do the best you can. And I also think because we do play that number of people, it develops young men that normally wouldn't get as much development. But I think it hurts us early in the season because we are playing so many people in practice. For instance, right now, we're playing so many people that I'm really worried that we're not as far along as we need to be. But a dear friend of mine, Tommy Canterbury, that was a coach at Centenary, used to his wife, I worked for her at Bossier Parish Community College, he used to always remind me, hey, you know, you're not going to be very good in November and December, but by the time you get to January, February, and March, you're going to be pretty good because of the way you play. And I always go back to those words he said because that's what makes us different.
Other questions for Coach McConathy?
This is Alex Dickey, the Lake Charles American Press.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. I wanted to ask you about the rule emphasis this year with more fouls are going to be called. With your team always being deep, do you think maybe you're in better position to deal with that than most? With more fouls going to be called this year and having more guys available than a lot of teams usually do.
Well, I think that it is an advantage if you are deep. I think that it's going to be a big adjustment period for everybody. I think we all better shoot free throws pretty good. I mean, after the scrimmage that we had this past weekend, I mean, it was just foul after foul after foul, and I know that all coaches are doing the same thing. They're telling their players, don't put your hands on them. But I think that there's some interesting things from a coaching perspective that we're going to have to take into consideration about how to attack the defender better, and so hopefully we'll do a good job with that. But I think that our depth will be a factor for us, especially early on until people adjust to it, and I think players will adjust to it. Key thing is that if it's called that way early and it's called that way late, so that players can adjust to it. But it'll make it a lot more effective because players will be able to score baskets.
Right. I mean, you're an offensive guy, so I imagine you've got to be one of the people who might like the fact that this is going into effect.
Well, I just think you're going back as a player, when you have freedom of movement and the opportunity to score and you're not handcuffed or ridden all over the floor because someone's got an arm on you or a forearm shiver, I really think it makes for a better brand of basketball. And because we like to score points, sure, that's in our favor. The only problem with it, we got to try to defend too. So we've got to work on trying to stay in front of people without putting any hands on them. But it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. And, it's something that I think all coaches are concentrating as well as ourselves on trying to do a better job defensively without fouling.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions for Coach McConathy?
Coach, maybe talk a little bit about what you see so far from this year's team, and compare it to last year's squad that ranked so highly in so many NCAA statistical categories, steals and blocks and turnovers.
I think that this group can be a special group. I think that also it has to do with getting, I use this phrase, getting over ourselves and just go and do the things that we have. But Daquan Hicks has been slowed by some off-court health issues, and we've had some injuries to Marvin Frazier. But I'm a little worried about us inside, just that we're a little thin because of the length I mentioned earlier. But I really think that this group is really going to be able to run and really be able to score the basketball better than the team, maybe as well as any team that we've ever had. And a year ago when I watched our team play, it was really fun watching us play because Bryson White would get out. Jalen West could lead him on a pass. Bryson White would get a steal, go down and get make a great play going to the bucket. So it's exciting group to be with. It's just a matter of us getting everything in place and doing the things we can to be successful, and understanding that we've got a tough non-conference schedule, as we always do, but that helps us build to be as good as we can in March. And we're excited about that and look forward to the opportunity to try to compete at the highest level. And who knows, with these new rules, do the new rules put you in a position where maybe there'll be some of those possible upsets that normally don't happen because you're not being handcuffed so much by the bigger, stronger guards.
Anything else for Coach McConathy?
All right, Coach, appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brooke, are you with us?
I'm here.
All right. Joined now by Brooke Stoehr, the women's basketball head coach at Northwestern State. Last year, the Lady Demons were 12-18 overall, 7-11 in conference play. That was an 8th place finish. Coach, talk a little bit about where you are here in the practices leading into your season opener a week from Friday against Southern Arkansas.
Well, I would have to say year 2 is a lot more smooth than year 1. So we're excited about the players we have in place, and just even from our staff standpoint of having been through this for a year and knowing the league a little better and having a good feel for what it takes to get it done at this level. We have been able to put in a lot more, both on the offensive and defensive end of the floor, as opposed to where we were this time last year. We're much better physical. Our fitness level is much better at this point. Our physical condition is so much better, and that's allowed us to do so many more things. And I think a lot of that's due in part to we have a full roster. We had a full year to complete that and to find young ladies that want to help come build a championship culture.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now. For Brooke Stoehr, the women's coach at Northwestern State. Again, media, you may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line, and we do ask that you identify yourself by name and media organization.
Hey, Coach, this is Lynn Rollins with the Southland Television Network. I was a little bit surprised, quite honestly, in where the Lady Demons were picked to finish in the league. Does that serve as a motivation for you guys, or give me your candid opinion of where you thought you might be picked?
Well, I think anybody, when you're picked towards the bottom half, the lower half of the league, that's disappointing, but it doesn't change how we approach every single day. And I think that as we try to establish a culture and a level of accountability with our players and our staff, that doesn't change one bit. We're working every day to win championships, whether, the league or coaches or media picks us last, as they did last year, or first. We're going to have the same mentality. And I think that, a lot of times people get caught up in that stuff. And my concern is where we are at the end of the season. Not where we are in November, not where we are in December, not where we are in January and February, but where we are in March. And I think if we can do that with this young team, we'll be in good shape when it comes time for March.
Coach Matt Vines with the Shreveport Times. It looks like on paper you've got everybody back to log minutes. How far ahead is this group compared to last year's group?
I'm not sure that we can compare that just because there were so many new faces and everything was new for them last year, but we have 8 new faces this year. We have 2 players that sat out last season that should be very familiar to most Southland Conference opponents, in Trudy Armstead, who's a 5th-year senior, and Meredith Graff, who's a 6th-year senior, and they both did not play last year. So we have those 2 in addition to Janelle Perez and Keisha Lee, who logged a lot of minutes in the backcourt for us. So we do have some experience in that standpoint. And it's just very different because I think a lot of times last year our players were just trying to figure out what our expectations were for them on a daily basis, and now they understand that. Now we've been able to integrate those 8 new faces, and they're picking up on that as well. So it's just a different energy. It's just a different passion and a different effort level every single day, and that's been extremely pleasing to us.
You mentioned obviously Janelle Perez. What types of improvements and leaps has she made in your second year?
Well, I think you can always tell just such a big difference in players between their freshman and sophomore year. Just a growth from a confidence standpoint. She's one that's constantly working on her game, whether we're in season, out of season, in summer school, whenever. She just constantly has the ball in her hands, and we never have to worry about that. I think her growth has come from a confidence standpoint. She's been in the system for a year. She really understands what we want offensively and is able to facilitate that for us. We have some help around her this year that we don't have to rely on her. It's our biggest threat on the floor at any point. And so I think that that's helped her relax a little bit too. And it's also gotten her excited and energized to know that she's got some other players around her that are really, really excited that she and Keisha don't have to carry the complete load in the backcourt.
I know, pardon me, Coach, this is Len Rollins again. I know the situation you inherited there where Lady Demon basketball had not been as good as it was traditionally and historically. I saw in working some games there last year what I thought was a genuine resurgence and interest among the student body, among the crowd, and an energy that your team played with that maybe hadn't been there in the last couple of years. Do you feel that as well? Is there a new opportunity to impress?
I think definitely. I think a lot of that has to do with, our players are just competing every single day. And I think that when we can get them to do that, we've surrounded the players. Situations are what they are when you take over. And we felt like we needed to change the culture, and we feel like we're in the process of doing that and of taking some really big steps. But our home court advantage was huge for us last year. We beat 4 of the 5 top teams in the league at home and had some really good wins. But I think the community and the on the campus community really started to embrace that. They appreciated the level of heart and toughness that the team showed. And I think that the toughest teams win when you get down to March. And if we can continue to establish that and build on that, we're going to roll out there with 8 new players. And again, we're going to be young, but that doesn't affect our effort level every single day. And I think that if we can continue to build on that, these fans will jump on board and continue. They've been nothing but supremely supportive of us since we stepped foot in Natchitoches, and they appreciate the effort. They appreciate that our players are playing extremely hard and giving their best. And I think that when we continue to do that, we'll start to see that success that Coach Smith had for so long here. And I think some of that, it's just teaming up with Coach Mike and his guys and the success that they've had. I think Natchitoches is a really good basketball city, and they're fired up about it, and they're ready for us to get started.
We have time for one more question with Brooke Stoehr, the women's basketball head coach at Northwestern State.
Coach, this is Calhoun with the Southland. You talked about Meredith Graff and Trudy Armstead coming back this season. How have they been after a year off, and how has the team chemistry been with them coming back on the court?
It's been really exciting. They were around with us last year and really were able to kind of witness some things. Sometimes seeing things from a sideline gives you a different perspective. They were around. Trudy got to practice last year. Meredith was very limited and wasn't able to practice full out, at any point during the year. So she's getting back in the swing of things now. We've been very pleased with both of them. They bring a level of experience. They've been through a lot of different experiences throughout their careers, and I think that that is definitely going to help with our newcomers. They know what to expect, but they've also been learning to play within our system, and they've been extremely compliant and energetic, and I think they're very excited about the energy and the vision that we have, and they're excited about the new players on campus and the energy that they have and their desire to win and to be the best that they can be.
All right, Coach. Appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck this season.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Dave, are you with us? You may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we have you now. Thank you.
How are you doing?
Good. Joined now by McNeese State men's basketball head coach Dave Simmons. Last year, the Cowboys were 14-17 overall, 7-11, tied for 7th in the conference. Coach, I guess just provide an opening statement addressing, how practice is going as you get ready for your season opener a week from Friday night up at Michigan State.
Well, we're very pleased with the progress we've made. Now this year's team coming back, got a good group of seniors and juniors, and from our sophomore and freshman class, I think we're going to get a contribution out of all those classes. I like this team. They've been working hard. We've kind of changed a lot of things in our offensive scheme. We're trying to play a lot more faster. We're more guard oriented than anything. And of course, that's always been a key to success in winning the South Conference. But we didn't do ourselves any favors by our schedule, and that keeps me up at night, just worrying about that schedule. We have 2 home games before we start our conference schedule. We start off with one of the toughest teams in the country, Michigan State, on November the 8th, and then we have a tough University of Lafayette on that following Tuesday. Then we're in the preseason NIT. So that'll keep a coach up a lot of nights. They're just worried about that, not long if you have a bad practice. But the effort's there. No doubt we're going to be challenged early, very early.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for Dave Simmons, the head men's basketball coach at McNeese State. Media, please identify yourself by name and media organization. You may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line. Coach, you have 3 starters and 11 lettermen returning. What are your expectations heading into the season?
Well, obviously, we want to be up in the top level of the conference tournament. Our conference, our goal is also, obviously win the conference tournament, go to the NCAA. But as far as the 3 starters, I couldn't ask more for the guys that start that coming back, along with Kevin Hardy, Shark Guidry, and Craig McPherson. And those guys have put in a lot of work over the summer and preseason, and actually, are setting the tone for our this class this year for 13-14. Along with that, we went through a period where last year we made it to the semifinals within the new format, and I think this year's team is a lot deeper than in our previous team. So this is the first time I played in the conference championship with 8 guys. Now we got 16 bodies with 15 of them healthy. So we got a good group of guys that bring a lot to the table as far as on the court. So we'll look different than we've looked in the past.
Questions for Dave Simmons? Coach, I saw a preview where your team was described as a young team, and you know, you have 5 seniors on your roster, but you know, I guess they haven't played that much. Just talk. Do you consider your team to be a young team this year?
Well, I think we're maturing. You know, we had 2 seniors starting point and 2 guard last year. I guess we're experiencing a new point guard. Obviously, we have freshmen that are that on the team this year. I think are going to make a contribution. We moved Kevin Hardy, which is one of our most versatile kids. Kind of remind you of Pat Bishard to point early this season because our schedule's so tough. Now Kevin is a lot better at those other positions, but I would say this when you talk about the young team. I think most people look at the bulk of our minutes that come up out of our junior class, who were sophomores last year, and who's matured this year. So I think when you look at that, you're talking about the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, or probably the bulk, if you say the more contribution guys of our team.
Questions for Dave Simmons?
Yeah, Dave, this is Alex with the American Press. I was just thinking, you know, you've mentioned you're going to try to go up tempo. You've got more numbers than ever before. I mean, you came here from Northwestern, but I've never actually had a team that looks like the way Mike plays up there. Is this going to be a little bit more like that?
Well, in so many instances, I mean, Mike, if to my as far as coaching under Mike, I've learned a lot of good things about Mike, and we're implementing a lot of things that Mike. Success, you saw the success they had last year with the numbers, and not so much the rotation of 5 in, 5 out. But we're going to play more people than we played in the past. I think that, but only that's our talent level. I think I have more guys to make a contribution. You know, a lot of times we played 8 or 9 guys, and I think we can go deeper, depending on the situation. But some guys can make some contributions. But obviously, that's if you look at Mike's success in this league, you know, that's probably one of the success is getting to buy into that system that everybody's got to make a contribution, and those guys come and work hard every day. But you know, the 2 scrimmages we've had so far, you know, we scored 91 in one and 98 in the other. So I don't know if that's going right now. Is we've shot the ball a lot better than we've shot in the past. I say that our scoring is up, but we're playing at a lot faster pace. I think that's probably the biggest thing, and we're shooting much quicker than we've shot in the past. So that's probably, if you look at the new rules along with that, you know, guards going to have an advantage, especially if you have the basketball in your hands going to the basket. And I think that's going to help us, and because I think we have kids that can play, can put it on the floor, can create their own shot. So I think that's going to help us in the long run.
And, you know, this has been asked before, but, you know, you're pretty good in the top half of the league, but, you know, the key will be with this tough schedule, sort of keeping the confidence going into getting the conference play. Just how do you do that with this schedule?
Well, that's one of the things as a coach, and I think I can't truly answer that until after I've gone through some of this schedule. But the biggest thing is, I think, like you said, you have some juniors and seniors, and these kids have been around our program for a couple of years and watched our programs. We've been picked lower than that, and we played 2 consecutive years for the championship. 1 year we won the league, and next year we came back and we played in the finals and ended up with a CIT bid and the NIT bid. So I think that's the part to keep the confidence, that knowing that, you know, this is a test, and I said if it doesn't kill you, it's going to make you stronger. So the base thing in this is that, you know, we got to build confidence. We're going to play a tough schedule. I put them in the probably toughest schedule I've had since I've been here, and it's no favor when you start off at Michigan State at home open. And, you know, of course, what a great year they had and the kids they got returning. And then, you know, you look at anybody from from the rest of that schedule, from Alabama to Louisiana Tech to UL. I mean, those are all a very good teams. And, of course, they're on the road. So we're going to be tested, weary, and we're going to, it said adversity is the best test of a man. So we've definitely in an adverse situation, but I think our confidence level, and it's going to be intriguing as a coach to see what we're made of if we're as tough as we think we are as a team. So, at the end of the day, if we're told them this, if we start off at Michigan State and, we're going in a game, obviously going in a game, preparing your team to play the best it can to win a basketball game. I say, let me tell you this, though. At the end of the day, if you're playing Michigan State in March, that means you had a very good year. So that's what we've got to look at and believe in ourselves that we're capable of playing with anybody that we step on the floor with.
Anything else today for Dave Simmons at McNeese State? Coach, appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck this season.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Alex. Bye.
Brooks, are you with us?
I sure am.
All right, joined now by Brooks Donald-Williams, the women's basketball head coach at McNeese. Last year, the Cowgirls were 21-15 overall, 11-7 in the conference, which tied them for fourth. Coach, if you would, open with a general statement about how things are going heading into your your season opener a week from Friday against Wiley.
Sure thing. I mean, practice is going really well. It's very, very different. We're obviously without two of the best players that have ever played in McNeese Cowgirl basketball history, especially in current years, and it's just really different. We're just trying to find our way, and I love the group that we have. I really like the new kids. I love the returners that are back. I think the returners that are back have grown a lot and learned a lot, and I think the newcomers have brought us a lot of new energy. So I think things are on the right track. I still think that, we have a big void that we've got to fill, and going to be a lot of people trying to fill that void for us.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for Brooke Williams at McNeese. Media, you may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line, and we do ask that you identify yourself by name and media organization.
Coach, this is Calhoun with the Southland. Talk a little bit about Celia and how she's progressed last year and winning the Newcomer of the Year award.
Yeah, I think C has had a great off-season, summer, and preseason. I think she's a kid that's grown up a lot. I think she was a very different player from beginning of the year last year to conference play and maybe even middle of conference play. She was inconsistent, I thought, last year, and I think she's shown a lot more consistency in her work ethic, just everything about her. Her preparation is very different, and really proud of where she is right now, and we're hoping that certainly translates to November 8th and the rest of the season for her.
Coach, this is Lincoln. How are you doing?
Hey, Lincoln. Doing great.
Well, we were there in town for football a couple weeks ago, mentioned that a couple numbers were going to be retired. For you as a coach, what will it be like to have a couple of numbers and names to be able to point to from night in, night out, kind of set an expectation and a standard for your existing players?
Absolutely, Lincoln. It's just going to be a really special night. First of all, I guess, we're doing that on November 14th. It's our second home game of the season. We play Rice that night, and we actually did, schedule that around Ashlyn Baggett's schedule, her work schedule in Houston. But they did so much to impact not only our basketball program in the Southland Conference, our community here in Lake Charles, the state of Louisiana. I mean, I just think they just did so many special things. And, I think it was a unanimous decision to go ahead and retire their jerseys. They'll be the first women's basketball jerseys to be retired here at McNeese. And I think you're exactly right. It's going to be really nice to have something to show kids, and and show, whether it's recruits or, our current students, to show them and talk about their work ethic too, because they worked for every bit of their success, and we're certainly proud of the legacy that they've left.
Coach Cussen earlier today mentioned those two, some of her favorite players. It seems like last year, just the senior class across the board throughout the Southland Conference, you knew for about a 3, maybe even a 4-year span with each program what you were going to get night in, night out because of certain marquee names that have all graduated now. This year feel more wide open than perhaps in the past?
It really does. I knew, going into last season, I felt like there were a lot of programs that could have won it. I thought Nicholls could have. I thought, obviously Oral Roberts. I thought Stephen F. could have at any moment. I thought a lot of programs had so much talent that they could have won on any given night. And, it's a different feeling this year, but I certainly feel like there are some big front runners. I think there's some talent returning, for Stephen F. and I think Nicholls too. Nicholls, we're not talking about them enough. I really think they're going to be tough. But I think it is wide open because of the impact losses that a lot of us have had, from last year's senior class.
Thank you.
Hey, Brooke. This is Alex.
Hey, Alex.
Lincoln actually asked one of my questions. Good one about the league sort of changing the guard right now. But for McNeese, how much better equipped is this team to deal with the departure of the Twins than the last time you had to handle that?
We're a lot better equipped. We actually do have a point guard here in Jalen Johnson, that played behind Caitlin last year and got valuable experience playing behind her. And, when the Twins left after their freshman year, we really, we had recruited Ashlyn and Caitlin, to play those two, that position, both of them, and so we lost really 2 great ball handlers in one bang, and weren't prepared really that late in the year to replace that. And, so I think going in, it's a lot different. It's still a huge loss. And, Jalen's going to have to grow up really quick, which I think she did last year. I think she had big moments, and she also had big mistakes that she learned from too. But I think we're definitely a lot better equipped. I really like our freshman class. And again, I know they're freshmen. But, pretty soon they won't be. They'll have some experience and games behind them, and hopefully they'll be ready for conference play.
Other questions for Brooks Williams at McNeese? Go ahead.
Coach, this is Calhoun again. Everyone's talking about Caitlin and Ashlyn, and deservingly so, but let's not forget there's another Baggett still on the roster. Talk about how Allison's matured in the year, over the year, and what you expect from her this season.
Well, Calhoun, they call her Baby Baggett, so she doesn't mind it, so I guess we can call her that. But she's doing really well. Allison has grown a lot. I think playing with her sisters, which is something they weren't able to do in high school, and only able to do in college because the Twins did sit out their sophomore year. And, I think playing behind them and with them and being a gym rat like they were constantly, every day, every night, I think Allison learned a lot of things the right way. And I think it helped her tremendously. It gave her an edge that a lot of other kids, didn't have, and Allison wouldn't have had she not been able to be in that environment with her sisters. And they were great leaders for her, and I think it's taught her a lot. And she's a different kid. She's a different player than them, but all the same, she's got a lot going for her. We're really excited about her future. We're excited about the way she's playing right now. She is defending and scoring really well right now for us, and we're looking forward to her continuing to get better. And but I absolutely love. She's one of our leaders right now. She really is, and on and off the court, and just can't say enough about her.
Anything else this morning? All right, Coach. Appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck this season.
Thanks so much.
Jim, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, joined now by Jim Yarbrough, the men's head coach at Southeastern Louisiana. Last week, the Lions were 13-18 overall, 10-8 in the Southland, which was fourth. Coach, just to offer an opening statement, if you would, maybe where things are for you in practice as you get ready for your opener a week from Friday at Missouri.
Well, obviously, right now the big key is to be healthy, and we are. It's nice to be able to have everybody still accounted for. Being able to start a little early with practice this year was great, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking more opportunity, more days to. Maybe there could be a downside to it, but we've been very fortunate. We've had good work, and I like how this team is coming together. We obviously have a number of new faces coming back with a core group of guys, but we found ourselves with a great bit of depth that we like very much, and we think will be very beneficial to us as the year goes on. And we're just excited. I know we're at a place where the close scrimmages are offering a little bit of a reprieve instead of going against each other every day, and we're excited about opening our season, amazingly enough, a week from Friday.
All right, we'll go ahead and open up for questions now for Jim Yarbrough, the men's basketball head coach at Southeastern Louisiana. Media, you may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line, and we do ask that you identify yourself by name and media organization prior to asking a question.
Good morning, Coach. This is John Lenz at the Daily Star.
Hey, good morning, John.
The obvious thing about your team is you're missing two 5-year seniors, your two leading scorers, and obviously there's a leadership void that has to be sorted out in the preseason. I'm wondering how that's looking for you, and how do you replace your two leading scorers from last year's team? Who's going to make up the difference?
Well, it's hard to replace 9 years of experience, and I don't want to pretend we can do that with just the wave of a hand. On the other hand, I sometimes there's an era or a period of time that the chapter closes and a new chapter begins, and the thing I've been struck by since really recruiting these players, we have 6 new faces, and the buy-in, committing to us, to being here in the summer, to being here since school began, has been just terrific. And there's a freshness and a great approach by our team now. I think it's everything we've done in the fall. There's been a kind of a new level of energy, and I won't say reinventing yourself, but I think some of the ideas that old guys kind of take for granted, these guys are getting excited about. As far as a leadership role, anymore as a coach, it's hard to, deem somebody your leader. It's almost artificial. A lot of young guys don't come up thinking that way. It doesn't feel natural. Sometimes they become different people than what they are trying to be a leader. So we've had such good, strong personalities. We've got some older guys that have been with us for 4 years, like Antonio Benton and Jeremy Campbell and Anochi Ochi. And then we've got some guys that have been with me for a year, and Jeff Ricard and Dre Evans. Then we've got some really good older players coming in that really bring a lot of IQ and experience with them. We're kind of taking the approach of all for one, one for all. Everybody can lead, everybody can push, everybody can set a standard. And what was interesting was early in the year, especially in the conditioning sessions, the new guys were the ones that were setting the pace. And the old guys were kind of like, wow, we better pick it up a notch. And so the competitiveness right from the beginning really set a beautiful tone for us. And we've been kind of riding that the whole fall so far. And so I don't know that we'll miss those guys. You don't know until you get into games, but I don't know that we'll miss them quite as much as you might from one year to the next. In essence, our recruiting class, we brought in 2 very good ball handlers in Josh Fillmore and Andrew Guillory. We brought in 2 very good shooters in Jamichael Hawkins and Julian Chiara. We brought in 2 guys with great length and size in Devontae Upson and Forrest Johnson. So we really brought in great balance. and our depth is greater than it's been in a long time, since maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Our size is better, and so I know we seem pretty rejuvenated right now. And even though you're going to miss some of those things, you get used to. Maybe that's its own issue. You get used to depending on a guy or two. And now there seems to be where everybody's contributing, and there seems to be greater depth, and the ball seems to have life and is moving a better. So we're hoping that's a good sign for us in the weeks ahead as we get into non-conference play.
Your veterans up front, I think, going to really be, critical of what you had to the, 2 guards in the back. Jeffrey and Dre kind of give you a little bit of scoring punch, but Antonio and Ochi, those are 2 guys that I guess it's kind of gotten down to now or never for those 2 guys to really blossom into what you thought they could be.
Well, we tried to define Antonio's job. We want him to be a guy whose motor runs very hard, to be, a good worker, a good glue guy, to take the smart shots. We want him to be one of the smarter players in this league. That's what he can do for this club. And when he does that, he's efficient, defends, rebounds. He's really worked on his body. It's taken him 4 years, but now he's in a position where he can do that job pretty well. Ochi is a guy who I believe is ready to come into his own in this league. His talent and his scoring ability became very evident down the last 7 to 10 games last year, and he's kept that going right into the off season. And I think he's ready to be a pretty consistent scorer in this league, and his talent and his IQ have started to match up pretty well. Dre, we thought we'd give him a bigger responsibility. He shot very well from 3 last year, but it's kind of interesting. Early on, I think he recognizes that he's got some pretty good shooters that have come into the program, and freshman Josh Fillmore and Julian Chiara and Jamichael Hawkins. So I think he was ready to take on a lot more of the scoring punch, and now I think we're all kind of looking back going, well, maybe not so fast. Just do what you do, let it come naturally. So he may fill the same 9 to 10 point per game position again because he does have some other scorers and shooters around him, which is nice. It doesn't put any undue pressure on him. If it kind of happens naturally, well, then great. He knows that he's a senior, and we expect him to step up. But I think Jeff Weekard is one who's really worked hard, really seems to be in a great place, is playing very well right now, and we hope that his 9 points per game maybe bumps up a little bit as well. But I think we have the ability right now, early on, it seems that we might be able to have 4 or 5 guys in double-digit scoring and have great balance. And, we'll see if that bears true in the weeks ahead. But, again, normally I think you'd be right on that, maybe 1 or 2 players have to step up. And I think in the front line, a guy like Ochi does have to step up. But we brought in some very good guards, and, I think the pressure doesn't have to be real great on any one person to maybe have to be something they're not quite able to be, or to take on a role that maybe is too immense for them. I think there's going to be enough firepower out there we can, share that responsibility some, and no one's going to have to be Brandon. We just have to be us. And we're kind of defining and figuring out what that is. And so far it seems to be going well. It looks like it on the surface anyway.
Your schedule has always been, ambitious. Less so this year, but you've also got kind of maybe a younger team without those 2 veteran guys that maybe, could take you into Missouri and calm you a little, or take you into Rice or LSU and calm you a little. The schedule with a young team is going to be a challenge for you guys.
It always is. There's no question about it. But in its own way, it's an older team. Antonio Benton, I can remember him being a freshman at Vanderbilt, so he's certainly had a taste of it over the years. Dre Evans had some experience at Providence as a freshman. Jamichael Hawkins, who's a newcomer for us, played a year of Division I basketball in the SWAC. He's been in some of those buildings before. And a number of our guys have been on the road in those games. And we have a bunch of juniors and seniors. We have a couple of freshmen. So I'm hoping that, how we play these scrimmage games and how we approach practice every day will just give us a consistency. But you're right, you'd like to have a few under your belt before you take on Missouri. But we dive right into it around here. We don't waste any time. But we're excited about it, and I think if there was something from the coaching staff, from my perspective, a year ago, we knew that we had an immense schedule. It just came up on us, and we opened at Wisconsin, and they rolled right over us to begin with before we could blink. That they were just hotter than could be. But then 2 nights later, the team responded well, and we were down 2 with the ball with 5 minutes to play at Marquette, and so we were kind of up and down and adjusting to the teams that we were playing. And I think this year we'll be a little bit more true to ourselves in developing what we want to do and how we want to play, knowing that that's going to serve us best in those 18 critical games come January, February, and March. You certainly will make some adjustments, but we want to really try to figure out what we want to be and how we want to play. And we've been really pretty dedicated to that all fall. And I don't think we'll change a whole lot going into these games at Missouri or anywhere else.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Anything else for Jim Yarbrough at Southeastern? All right, Coach, appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Lori, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hi. Joined now by Lori Davis-Jones, the women's basketball head coach at Southeastern Louisiana. Last year, the Lady Lions finished 11-18 overall, 4-14 in the conference. Coach, if you would, bring us up to speed on where things are for practice with your program this year as you get ready to open the season just a week from Friday against Mobile.
We've had some really good workouts. We've had some really good practices, and especially in the last week when we were actually able to do some 5-on-5. We've had some injuries earlier in the early part of practices that limited our numbers, and it made for some creative coaching, and I think our coaches have done a good job of trying to figure out how to be competitive with limited numbers. But as of right now, everybody's on the court for the most part of practice, and we're just kind of enjoying. We're learning a new system. We're going to play a different game this year, and it's been interesting to watch our returners mesh with our new players about what we're hoping to accomplish.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for Lori Jones, the women's basketball coach at Southeastern Louisiana. Media, please identify yourself by name and media organization, and you may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line.
Good morning, Coach. This is John.
Hey, John.
If I look at your roster, I can kind of identify a logical-looking starting lineup out of, returning players there. And I wonder how much that has a chance to hold with the new people that you brought in, because I know you've talked very highly of them. But with a new system and all that, maybe the newcomers get the edge in that kind of a circumstance. I don't know. How's that sorting itself out?
It's been interesting and fun to watch develop. Obviously, Asia, Liz, and Simone have held their ground in the overall experience of the game and how to be. Brooke Stoehr was talking about it earlier. The toughness part, the dealing with figuring it all out as a new player. So they've got the edge over the new players, but. It looks like we'll probably have one new starter into that lineup that is a new player, Nessa De La Cruz. We recruited her for her shooting, and she's proven so far that she can knock down shots pretty deep and pretty nicely looking. She looks like a shooter. She shoots like a shooter, so that's always good. It'll be interesting to see how it transcends, of course, to game time with speed and pace of the game at the Southland Conference level. But she has had some Division I experience at American University, so she is going to have the opportunity to bust into that starting lineup for us. Liz, of course, just dynamic point guard, and we're going to create something for her to be able to be even more dynamic, we hope, with the way we're going to play this year, and more with giving her more opportunities to score the ball and transition the ball for us. Simone Miller, we're asking that she just becomes a whole lot more offensive-minded, and she has so far. And then Asia, of course, you can't say enough about her work ethic and what she's done to become a different player from the day she walked into. She is she just looks like a beautiful basketball player out there. So it should be interesting to watch that group of returners and that group of those three starters coming back with Anessa in there. And, right now Nana Poole from Amy County looks like she's got the other post position as an early start. One of our injured players is a young lady that I was looking to probably expect to be in the lineup at some point, and she's been injured. So we're looking for Adrena to continue to come along with her health, and it should be a challenging post-core too when we get her healthy.
You in a general way, you're talking about changing your style. What are you going to try and do?
What we're going to do is we're going to just open the court up a little bit more. We're going to spread our players out. We're going to play with some space and some pace, and create a tempo that is fluid with the change of the officiating rules. We're going to do a lot more with a 4-out look as opposed to a 3-out, and really isolate our players when they're going one-on-one on the perimeter, and isolate Asia in the post when she's because she is such a fluid, mobile post player that if the officiating is going to change like we say we are, then we expect to have a lot more and ones, and that's kind of what we're looking to do. We're going to expose the one-on-one play and see if we can get to the line a couple more times, and with some and one situations.
One thing about that I've thought about your teams is that they've kind of had a disadvantage in terms of physical strength and all that. That style probably and the rules changes probably plays into more the type of players that you've had in recent years anyway.
It really does, John. We've never been the biggest team. We've never been the strongest team, but we've always been, even back to our days of the Christy Carlin and Bernita Williams and our 2 divisional championships, we were a fluid, mobile team. And I think that should, like Mike McConathy said earlier, should the officiating change and emphasis remain fluid throughout the season, that's what we're all kind of waiting to see. But with the early on, we should be able to expose, maybe utilize our quickness and our mobility to our advantage, and the advantage of the way the game's going to be called, supposedly.
Last thing, just again about your schedule, you guys had kind of a challenge to try and the early part of the schedule. You're on the road, for long drafts of time, and you don't get to have much fun at home. It's going to be a challenge for your team to come together away from home on the road.
Yeah, you're right. It's not an easy schedule, but you know what? As tough as we can make it to get their attention early and to provide the opportunity for the level play that we're going to see in our conference on the road on those travel swing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday days is what we're going to use it for. It's not exactly what obviously we as coaches would like to do is only be in your home arena like the men's McNeese program, like Dave said, only twice in the pre-conference season, but it is what it is, and we're going to use it to our advantage, and we're going to hopefully develop some mental toughness out of it, because that's what it is, and there's nothing that we're going to be able to do about the schedule, so we better figure it out, because it's going to prepare us for our conference.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Anything else today for Lori Jones at Southeastern?
Coach, this is Calhoun from the Southland. How you doing?
Hey, Calhoun, I'm good.
Talk about Asia Gibson. She's a preseason all-conference player, and last year the conference lost a lot of its inside play due to graduation. So what are you expecting from her this season?
Everything. I'm expecting toughness, leadership, passion, the competitive advantage to getting us back into the conference tournament as a contender. We're expecting everything from her. She is a fifth-year senior, and she's capable, and she has developed into a really beautiful basketball player, and it's just, we're expecting everything from her. And she's going to have some help with Simone and Liz, and they got to figure it out, and they got to get the information and the tempo and the pace and the toughness message across to the rest of them. So we're expecting everything out of her.
Hi, Coach. It's Grant Boone with Abilene Christian University. Hello.
Hey, Grant.
Well,
welcome.
You guys are on,
welcome.
Well, thank you very much. We're all excited. I'm not sure how excited we are about the 700-mile road trip that we'll have to see you, but
you're as excited as we are when we return.
yeah, and that's my question. Obviously, all of the focus this year is on, and rightly so, on the rules changes, but this will be an adjustment to a degree, I would imagine, with Abilene being here on the northwest outermost regions of the Southland Conference. Has that been something that you've thought about much in terms of travel and how it may or may not affect your team?
Yes and no. And I say that with nothing other than it is what it is. When Oral Roberts came in last year, we're like, geez, and Pete, we got to get to where? You can't get there from here.
Yeah.
And then, a few years back when Central Arkansas came in, it was you were used to traveling from Louisiana to Texas, and that was about it. So we're just going to go a little bit further in Texas, and it'll be fun to go look at new venues that the Southland Conference has brought into our league, and it'll make it more challenging and more important when you go on a 700-mile road trip to make sure that you know how to rest, you know how to eat, you know how to mentally be prepared. And it's going to continue to enhance this league and grow it and, make it where we all expect it to be with the RPI high and, a nationally recognized Southland Conference League in women's basketball and men's.
We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Grant. Appreciate the question.
Anything else for Coach Jones? Lori, thanks for your time and wish you the best of luck this year.
Thank you very much.
Coach Piper, are you with us?
You may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line.
I'm here.
All right, joined now by J.P. Piper, the head men's coach at Nicholls. Last year, the Colonels were 9-21 overall, 8-10 in the Southland Conference. That was good enough for 5th place. Coach, talk a little bit about where you are here in the early parts of the practice schedule as you get ready for your opener a week from Friday against Auburn.
Well, we're ready to go play somebody else. We're really tired of beating up on one another, and the preseason is a grind for everyone, as it is for us. And the guys are excited about looking at somebody else instead of practicing against each other. And it's time. As a coach, you never feel like you're quite ready. There are a few more things that you'd like to spend more time on. But it's that time of year, and the guys are very, very excited about kicking the season off. We have an exhibition on Saturday with Mobile, and we look forward to working out against somebody different and seeing if we can start pulling it all together. And as I'm sure my colleagues in the league feel the same way, the preseason at our level is important, but not the greatest importance. Our focus is to have it all figured out by January. So we've still got plenty of time to do that.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now. For J.P. Piper, the men's basketball coach at Nicholls, media, please identify yourself by name and media organization prior to asking a question. Coach, talk a little bit, if you would, about having 4 of your starting 5 from last season back, and how has that familiarity helped the team in the preseason?
Well, it's helped us in terms of understanding how to practice and prepare
for the season. So when you have a lot of young guys, they don't understand the intensity at which practice needs to operate, and they're not always able to go 2.5 hours, 3 hours, if that's necessary in the preseason. But these older guys understand the importance of, one, we need to get the work in, and then two, the level that work needs to take place at. So it's nice having that leadership, and I think that sets a good foundation for you going into your season, particularly when adversity comes and things are a little more difficult maybe than those young guys expected it to be, particularly maybe on the road. Having those guys that have been through it before brings some stability to your huddle, to your locker room. So I think it's invaluable.
Coach, this is Lincoln Rose with the League's ESPN3 coverage. I just wanted to ask if there was one pressing question that you were really hoping to get answered before conference play rolled around, and I guess two parts, if there's a player who's already surprised you early on in this preseason.
The question we need to answer is we have some size, which is new to us. We haven't always had very much length on the floor, but it's all young. There's 4 kids, maybe 5 in the mix there. So we've got to settle on a post rotation. First find a couple of guys that can defend, and then hopefully if we find a few that can defend, one that can, not miss a short distance play around the basket. I have a feeling we're going to be inconsistent there all year long because these guys are young, but that's the big question mark for me, is getting that ironed out before we get to league play. And then the surprise is, I guess that, I thought we would have 1 or 2 guys in that discussion. But as we're getting through the end of the preseason here, we've not had 1 or 2 separate, which I guess at first glance maybe is a bad thing, but it's really because there's been a little more competition there than we anticipated. So we have a couple of freshmen that are pushing a couple of sophomores, and I think that's a great thing. The freshmen, maybe the surprise is they're a little better than we thought they would be, and they're pushing these other guys. And then we have a couple of guys that are injured. Sam McNeese broke his foot mid-year last year. He's not quite back. And Lachlan Press had some knee issues last year. He's not quite back. But those are a couple of 6'7" that would be in that mix as well. So there's really 6 guys that we're kind of trying to work through to figure out who's going to anchor us around the rim.
Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions for Coach Piper at Nicholls?
Yeah, Coach, this is Alex speaking, Lake Charles. I was wondering how much you think the rule changes regarding fouls will affect the game this season, and what kind of teams will it benefit?
That's a good question. I was excited when I first watched the video, and then I talked to our coordinator of officials, Curtis Shaw, and expressed some doubt as to whether we could really pull this off as an organization, and he assures me that we could. We had a scrimmage last night, and they called about 20 fouls in the first 2 minutes, and then they really put the whistles up for the rest of the half, and it looked like an old Southland Conference basketball game to me. It was real physical, and the horror stories you're hearing around the country of 96 fouls and 85 fouls. There were 26 fouls called per team last night, so a total of 52 fouls. That to me is not anywhere close to what I anticipated. So if it's called the way we played last night, nothing's changed. And what we told our guys, I guess to answer your question, was to challenge gaps, to try to get the ball to the rim, put it on the deck. And I think the strength of our team is going to be our guard play this year. So I thought this played well into our strengths. But that ended up not being how the game was officiated last night. Now, going forward, obviously there's still room for that to happen. If it does, I think and Curtis says this is the intention, that you're going to see more scoring, you're going to see more free throws. I'm okay with that. We're going to work to teach our guys to guard without fouling. And we talk a lot about gap security in our half-court defense and bringing help and how to do that. And so that's not a change for us in terms of how we teach the defense. From an offensive perspective, we may be a little more determined to gap the ball, whereas in the past we were more interested in ball reversal and screening. We may look a little more like a dribble drive team this year if, in fact, the game will be officiated that way.
It's, how far do you have to go into the season to strategically figure out, all right, we're going to roll this way, or if you're going to stick with to the guns you've used over the past few years?
Well, I think right now we're going to test a little of both. And so, last night early we were getting those calls and we put the ball in the gaps. And then when that call went away, we went back to what we know. But we've prepared as if the game was going to be officiated the old way. I think it's a whole lot easier for me to turn those guards loose and say, look, break out of the offense. And when you catch it, rip it through and punch it in the gap and see what you can get. I think my kids, and probably everybody's in the leagues, kids are good enough to do that. That's really less structure, more freedom. So the approach for us was to teach the structure, to have it to fall back on if, in fact, that's the way you're going to have to create buckets. But my guys would love the freedom and love to be able to go, and honestly, I'd love to give it to them. A little bit easier game to coach.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anything else for J.P. Piper at Nicholls? All right, Coach, appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck this season.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye. Coach Plaisance, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
All right, joined now by DoBee Plaisance at Nicholls on the women's basketball head coaching. She is the women's basketball head coach, The Colonels were 19-11 overall last season, 11-7 in conference play. That tied them for fourth last year. Coach, if you would please talk about how practice is going, how things are developing for the 13-14 season, and you're a little over a week out from the games against Southern New Orleans on next Friday.
Well, development is a great word because I feel like in terms of our returners, which we're returning everyone except for Alicia Allen, which a player like Alicia Allen, you just don't replace. What you have to do is try to move on and try to fill in gaps from there. But with our returners and then I like to call them our newbies coming in, the development and the chemistry between them working together, learning how to read each other and everything like that. It's spot on. I'm very excited about how they're meshing together, how they're learning so quickly. The learning curve isn't as long as I thought it would be in terms of with the number of newcomers we have coming in, meshing and blending in with the amount of returners we have coming back. It's development is spot on if you ask me.
All right. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for DoBee Plaisance at Nicholls. Media, please identify yourself by name and media organization. You may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line.
Coach, this is Calhoun at Southland. How you doing?
Fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good.
So you mentioned you only lose Alicia Allen, one starter from last year, from a team that had a record-breaking season, 19 wins, the most in school history. And this season, you all are picked high in the preseason polls. How are you preparing your team for having a target on their back? They're not going to be able to sneak up on anyone this year and surprise anyone.
Well, the good news is, in terms of preparing them and having a target on the back, we've always prepared for our opponents with the utmost respect in terms of I really didn't feel like people were going to overlook us. Maybe they did, but I felt like for at least if we're just referring to last year, I think people have respected the fact that we've sort of expedited, the progress here within the program, and really doing great things in terms of these kids. These kids are they're special. It's a special group of kids, and I couldn't be any more blessed to be coaching them and being surrounded by them, not only the basketball piece, but people and everything like that. But in terms of our approach to this year and how we're preparing mentally, it's game day every day. Every practice, you have to focus like this is game. This could be the one, and sort of not a build up just from the get go. Even during individuals, it was game day every day. Can't accept turnovers. You can't accept maybe not totally being focused, because that could be the one that catches you. And that's been our whole. Don't waste any time. No, nothing. You waste a practice, that's a turnover. That's a possession that could be costing you. And that's sort of the mentality we're coming in, because we really feel like that with the right. If we take care of the intangibles, I'm really, really pleased with the type of balanced look we have this year. It's the intangibles that are going to make the difference, I feel, this year.
And talk a little bit about KK Babin. Since she's come to campus 3 years ago, the program has, just taken a turn for the best. And what has she meant to the program, and what do you expect from her this year?
Well, wow, I have two problems with that question. A little bit about KK Babin and what has she meant to the program. We don't have enough time in this segment. But no, she's special, and she has been the face of our program, and she has been the true nucleus behind our success here. And she's very humble about it, and she gives all the credit to her teammates. She's constantly coaching up her teammates, and stats are one thing about KK Babin, but again, I just made reference to the intangibles. A kid like that, that's what she brings to your program. The leadership, the day-to-day, just making sure her teammates get it right, the want for her teammates to get it right. And it's never about KK. If you ask me, she hasn't shot enough. She gives up the ball too much, and she's looking for that next pass, which is just a testament to her as a person. But she has been the reason we've been able to bring in some quality players, because if, KK, an opportunity to play with KK Babin, and again, I can just go on, but it's truly immeasurable, the difference she's made in this program and in all of our lives, and what she's brought, and that's why she chose here. As all of you know, she was recruited by BCS schools. She could have gone to bigger schools, but I guess the X factor here was a chance to do something that hasn't been done before, and that she could be the one making a difference doing it. And she has embraced that role. She has owned that role during the good times and the bad, and we have had some great times around here, and we've had some really low times around here, because the expectations since I walked on campus, whether they were real or not, or it's irrelative or irrelevant, our expectations have always been we just need to win. Figure out a way to win, and winning is a byproduct of doing the right things, and that's one of the things I've just tried to instill in all my players: just do the right things. If you do the right things, then winning's going to take care of itself. And she is an ambassador to that philosophy, and that is the core reason why we've seen such success in her tenure here.
Coach, this is Lincoln Rose with the ESPN3 coverage for the league.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing great. We just heard about the road trip to Abilene, a little under 700 miles. I assume when you all go to Alaska, it'll be by airplane. But now, I know you go there, you go to work to play in that tournament, but is that also, when you schedule something like that, a chance to kind of reward these young athletes and give them a chance to possibly see a place that they probably wouldn't have the chance otherwise to go to?
Yes, exactly. Every year, if you look at since I've been here, we have tried to schedule something special in terms of those kids getting out and doing something and experiencing something every day, from the Macy's Thanksgiving parade, and we had an experience out in Oregon at the University of, which was amazing, and just different things that we try to do. In Alaska was definitely a big piece for us in terms of what they accomplished last year, and that this program, these kids definitely deserve that. And I thank our administration for backing us on it, because we all know about the higher education cuts here, but they were committed to these women. And exactly. And then, it's good competition out there also. We're gonna have fun playing Georgetown and UC Irvine. It's gonna be real fun. But it's gonna be fun playing Baylor, Texas A&M, Southern Miss, Louisiana Tech. I think the list goes on and on. We're gonna have fun playing them.
I look forward to hearing about it when conference play rolls around.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Anything else for DoBee Plaisance today?
Hey, Coach, it's Grant Boone over at Abilene Christian University. Good morning.
Hey, Grant. How are you doing? Good morning.
Doing very well. Well, I know you're accustomed to playing one of the teams you played for. You've done that since you've been there, but now you get another team you played for in New Orleans. Are you having kind of a circle of life moment as you get ready for this?
Actually, again, that's a very loaded question, and I'll give you a short version of it.
That's why I asked it.
You guys are great at what you do. No, I am very passionate. As I believe most of you know, I actually live in New Orleans, and I commute to Thibodaux every day. It's a wonderful little drive down the bayou every day. But I'm very passionate, and what UNO has experienced over the last several years, I have been, again, sometimes distraught and then excited or whatever. And I am glad that UNO is in a position now that they are Division I, because they deserve to be Division I. And why not the Southland? And going in there and playing against a school that I'm very, very proud of, it's going to be different. But I can look at it, if I look at it at the glass half full, in some ways it's a win-win. Naturally, I'm going to be very distraught, if something happens and we go in there and we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. But at the end of the day, outside of playing Nicholls State, I'd love to see the University of New Orleans, just I don't know, do great things down there, because I think they're a staple in New Orleans, and I think they're a big part of the footprint of New Orleans, and I think they're a tremendous addition to the Southland Conference. And yes, to your point, it's convenient for me also. So
look forward to seeing you this season. Thanks.
Hey, thank you.
All right. Appreciate your time today. Wish you the best of luck this season.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay.
That transitions well into our next school, our last school of the day here on our preseason conference call, University of New Orleans. Mark, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
All right. Joined now by Mark Slessinger, the men's basketball head coach at UNO. Last season, 8-18 was the overall record as an independent coach. I guess talk a little bit about how excited you are personally to be in the Southland Conference, and how things are shaping up for your team heading into your November the 12th opener against Millsaps.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's a tremendous honor and privilege to be back in the Southland Conference, a league where I was blessed to have 11 years in Natchitoches with Coach McConathy, and it's a place that I love dearly. It's one of the best kept basketball secret leagues in the country. We've got a full gamut of styles of play and personalities that I think make it a tremendous basketball league. And I know I speak for not just myself, but my president, Dr. Peter Foss, and our athletic director, Derek Morrell, of how excited we are to be in the Southland Conference and have an opportunity to have tremendous natural rivalries in state that are close and people can get to them. And also just to have to be in a league after all the ups and downs we've been through over the last few years, to have some normalcy and to have the ship steadied and to be on a clear course and direction for what we want to build here at UNO. It's a great day to be a privateer, no doubt.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for Mark Slessinger, the men's basketball head coach at New Orleans. Media, you may need to press *6 to unmute your phone line, and we do ask that you identify yourself by both name and affiliation.
Coach, this is Lincoln Rose with the league's ESPN3 coverage. I know we look forward to seeing some new venues this upcoming year. Just logistic-wise, I guess for your director of ops and everybody else on your staff, just having a conference, having a home, the big difference that makes.
Yeah, it's huge to be able to have 18 league games after what we went through the last few years has been a blessing. To be able to play for a championship and be able to compete and have a Thursday, Saturday schedule with travel partners and everything else. You just can't imagine how great it is. I know Coach Cottrell will talk about that as well, I'm sure, when he gets involved on his time. But it's just a great opportunity for us, and then to be able to have great close rivals with Nicholls and Southeastern, and to have, our in-state rivals with McNeese and Northwestern, two of my great and dear friends, and Coach Simmons and Coach Mike, and then all the other close games. It's just a great time for UNO and what hopefully will be a renaissance of this great basketball program that I'm blessed to be the head coach of, with its tremendous history and coaches and players, and it's just a great time to be here, and hopefully people will enjoy coming to the city. Hopefully people will enjoy playing in what I think is one of the finer basketball venues in the South, here in beautiful Lakefront Arena.
You mentioned familiarity with some of the existing coaches. Have you had conversations in years past with any of them that perhaps now they'll regret sharing any knowledge with you in particular?
No. When you go through the league for that long, you there's not a lot of secrets when you play people. We had a scrimmage against the other day, and it was against a former Southland coach that's at a different school, and it was a great opportunity, and there wasn't any secrets. He knew what I was going to run, and I knew what he was going to run. Just we pulled out each other's old scatter reports, and we knew what each other was going to do. And so there's not a lot of secrets when you play people that many times and things you're going to do. And the big part is that we've got an opportunity to really lay a foundation and build a program here, really from scratch again, and do it the right way, and try to get good student athletes in here that people will be proud of, and play a extremely competitive schedule, and prepare ourselves to try to win a Southland championship.
Great. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Other questions for Mark Slessinger, the men's basketball head coach at New Orleans? Coach, you talked a little bit about what the Southland offers New Orleans, but what does New Orleans, both the university and the city, offer the Southland Conference and their fans?
Well, I think it gives them a clear destination place to go, to be able to, make New Orleans your home base to go watch your team play at Southeastern or Nicholls or us. I think that's a huge opportunity. It gives people an easy opportunity to take in all the things that we get to experience every day, from a culture end and a music and food and life experience in. And again, it gives us a great venue to play in, and people are going to be, I think, pleasantly surprised when they come down and they see how easy it is to get to our facility, how easy it is to get to our campus. The location, if they haven't been here, being up on the lakefront and being right on, roughly 300 yards from Lake Pontchartrain it's a great spot to be, and I think people will really be pleasantly surprised if they haven't been here before at how great and warm and friendly a place not only our city is, but also the convenience of getting to our basketball facility and our university.
Other questions for Mark Slessinger at UNO? Coach, tell us a little bit about your team. I mean, we don't know too much about what you have.
Yeah, we've got pretty much a whole new roster in a lot of ways. We've got 8 new faces in this season. We're anchored by 3 seniors, Corey Dixon, Jadarius McPherson, and Isaac Mack, who were with us last year and had very solid junior campaigns. And to have them back is great for us. We have a very strong freshman class. With 4 guys that we feel are going to be good pieces for us to lay the foundation of our program in. We have 3 2-year transfers and then 1 4-year transfer that will help solidify our roster and our depth. We're going to play quickly. We're going to get the ball up and down the floor. A similar Coach Mike and I got along very well because we had very similar basketball philosophies, and so we'll play similar styles, and we're going to continue to try to press and push the tempo, and really take advantage of some key positions that I think we have. Our strength is probably going to be at our small forward position. I like where we're at there with Broyles and Dixon, and then also with Sion and Darren Becker, and then a sophomore who had a good sophomore season for us, in Kevin Hill.
Anything else for Mark Slessinger today? Coach, appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck this season, and look forward to seeing you on down the road.
Thank you a lot. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. All right. Moving on. Keeshawn, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
All right. Joined now by Keeshawn Carter, the women's basketball head coach at New Orleans, coming off a 3-26 season as an independent. Coach, talk a little bit, if you would, please, about how practice is going, and as you get closer and closer to your opener a week from Friday, just across town at Tulane.
I think I would have to start off by just echoing the sentiments of most of my colleagues who've already talked this morning. It's just been a roller coaster ride, having 8 newcomers and 7 of them being freshmen. You have your good days, and you have those days where you just want to go home and pull out your hair. But nevertheless, it's been fun and it's been encouraging, because these newcomers have brought in the energy that I haven't seen in some years. They're excited about the possibility, and they're excited about playing in the Southland Conference and just having the possibility and the opportunity to help rebuild this program. So it's been interesting, nevertheless encouraging.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions now for Keeshawn Carter, the women's basketball head coach at New Orleans.
Coach, this is Lincoln Rose with the ESPN3 coverage. As I mentioned earlier, I know we look forward to yet another trip to New Orleans. Each year we hear coaches allude to what other coaches have stated on these conference calls, which surprises me that you all will stick around and listen. But I guess for you get to hear all these voices of coaches that essentially you're going to be coaching against for the foreseeable future here in the Southland Conference. Does it help things to sink in that this is the new home for New Orleans?
It does. Fortunately for myself, I know many of the coaches already in the Southland Conference, have a very great relationship, and really humbled to be among such prestigious coaches, have very great friendships. But it does help to listen in and see if they're going through some of the things that I'm going through as we practice in this early preseason and during the summer. But it has been great to listen in and understand that I'm not the only one that experiencing some changes. It is a good time to come into the league right now. There are some teams that are returning a lot of players, but then again, we've lost some players in the Southland Conference. I actually took the opportunity to attend the conference tournament on last year in preparation for this year to get a good look at the competition that I did not see during the season. Last year, we actually played some of the Southland Conference opponents a couple of times so that the girls who are returning would know what kind of competition that they're going to be up against this year. And I do have to echo the sentiments of Brooke when she spoke earlier. I think a lot of people, haven't mentioned it, but are sleeping on Nicholls. I played Nicholls twice last year, Southeastern twice, Houston Baptist twice, and Northwestern twice. And all of those teams, have pretty solid teams that are returning this year. So it's good to be a part of a family and a part of a league again. And again, this is a league that really is going to challenge your coaching abilities, because they have very good coaches in this league.
You mentioned playing a lot of those teams twice, I imagine in part because you were having to piece together more opponents on your schedule. Does it free up now a significant amount of time to focus on advancing your program now that you don't have to schedule what essentially would have been those conference games?
Absolutely. Having 18 games that I don't even have to worry about is just a breath taking and easier to just focus on getting those non-conference games. That schedule on last year was in preparation for it this year, but also so we could get accustomed to some of the travel that we're going to be doing now in our region, which is just a blessing for us. Having been in the Sun Belt Conference before when I played and coached here, and having to fly so many different places and maybe having to fly to Florida twice to play FAU and FIU. It's just better for us regionally to be able to travel to these schools. So, yes, I do think that playing those games were good, and it really gave me a good outlook on what to expect this year.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions for Keeshawn Carter at New Orleans?
Coach, this is Calhoun with the Southland. How you doing?
Hey, Calhoun. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Talk about your returners this year. Y'all lost your top 3 scorers from last year, but you did return some experience with Samantha Gray and Amber Clay and Yasmin Taylor. Talk about the group of returners and what you're expecting from them to take a leadership role.
It's been pleasant to watch the returners over the summer and in this preseason take on different leadership roles. We did lose a great bit of leadership and experience on the floor with Miriam Seapost leaving, who was in the program for 4 years and went through all the ups and downs and just gave her everything. And then the Thomas young ladies, as I like to call them, Carrie and Michelle, they brought a lot to the fore in the scoring area. So with that mindset, knowing that they were leaving, the returners actually worked extremely hard this summer. Yasmin Taylor did not play at the beginning of last year, but her first game was actually against Southeastern on last year, and she really just continued to develop and grow as the season went, as well as Mahilde Fogelstrom. Those are 2 sophomores who I am really looking forward to contributing this year in the front court. Samantha Gray is constantly growing at the point guard position. She had to play behind all of that experience on last year, so it's just day by day. And Amber Clay is just doing what she's doing. She's working hard. She is the most consistent player that I have. She gives the effort day in and day out without complaining. She is a model for this program. She represents exactly what our mission statement is. She has an impact on the court, an impact in the campus, and an impact in the community. So I'm very proud of what she brings to this team. But I am happy about the return of Melissa Jensen to the team, who actually tore her ACL the second game of the year versus Nicholls. The only 2 games that she played last year was against Southland Conference opponents. She had an opportunity to play against Northwestern and a little bit against Nicholls. She has continually to work hard through her rehab so that she can get back on the court this year. So I'm looking forward to her being out there. And then Danielle Davis was a transfer last year that set out. She's going to bring so much to our court and help pick up some of that scoring that we're going to miss from those 3 that are departing. So I'm excited about what the returners have bought. It's a new light. It's a new day. They're encouraged. They're ready. And the newcomers have found a way to fall right in line and buy into the vision that we have for this program.
And talk a little bit about your schedule. You only played 3 games at home before entering conference play, and then you go on the road and play some tough opponents as Mississippi State and North Carolina, I believe, is at a neutral site. But talk about your non-conference schedule and how that is going to prepare you for Southland play.
Our non-conference schedule is tough, but as I look around the league and notice all of the amount of teams that went to postseason on last year, and even as we take a look at their schedules, they're playing just as tough as a preseason schedule as we are. A couple of our Southland Conference team are playing Baylor. A few of us are playing Louisiana Tech, and there's Arkansas and Marquette and Texas A&M. So I think all of us have the same concept, is that we need to play a pretty tough preseason schedule in order to prepare us for what we're going to face in the Southland Conference, which to me is a more athletic conference than it has been in the past, and the players in the Southland Conference are competing night in and night out. It's going to be tough, especially for us as being a very young team, but I think it's just going to help them in the end when it becomes conference play time in January through March.
Anything else for Coach Carter at New Orleans? All right, Coach, I'd like to thank you for your time and wish you the best of luck this year.
Thank you all.
All right. I'd like to thank all of our coaches and media for joining us today on this first of two preseason conference calls with the Southland Conference men's and women's basketball coaches. We'll continue tomorrow with the coaches of the 7 institutions in the state of Texas. We'll also announce tomorrow morning the comprehensive television or broadcast schedule for the league. Also want to remind everyone that the preseason all-conference teams and polls, as well as the media guide, are available online at southland.org. Hope everyone can join us again tomorrow. That call will start at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. Thank you. Have a great day.